At this point, our prosecutors trying to get a mistrial, they got into religion again today after the judge already told him that it was inappropriate, and he got big mad. Day 19 of Lindsay Clancy's trial has wrapped up. It's a great day for a great day. My name is Sydney Rushing. I'm a criminal defense attorney in the state of Michigan. Now let's talk about it. So the battle of the experts continued, and Dr. Mack was back on the stand to continue his cross-examination. He testified in 2 criminal responsibility trials prior to this one. Reddington brought up a case that he testified in Florida about criminal responsibility, where he said essentially that people who receive state aid should be drug tested. And apparently some form of his testimony was stricken, which he said he didn't think that happened. He confirmed that he met with Lindsay 3 years after the incident on April 2026. He said he makes several hundreds of thousands of dollars a year doing forensic evaluations. Dr. Mack explained that confirmatory bias is where a researcher gathers information to confirm a pre-existing idea. He was retained by the Plymouth District Attorney's Office. When asked if he was hoping to be able to help the DA's office, he replied, no. He confirmed that he and Dr. Helbron interviewed Clancy together for 4 to 5 hours that first day. He confirmed that when Dr. Helbron gave Lindsay the MMPI test, that there was no indication whatsoever of any malingering, exaggeration, or anything along those lines in those tests, and he said that that was correct. He said the concern of prescribing an SSRI med to bipolar patients has lessened over the past 15 years or so. They talked about bipolar disorder and how it presents itself. He was asked if he concluded that Lindsay suffered from a major mental disease or a defect, to wit, bipolar 2, and he said no, that he concluded that she suffered from a major depressive episode as part of a major depressive disorder. He said that Dr. Helbron concluded that she had bipolar 2 disorder. Reddington then pointed out that Gelada raised the idea that Lindsay may have bipolar disorder, and Dr. Ziesel, Dr. Spinelli, and Resnick, all who evaluated Lindsay, diagnosed her with bipolar disorder. When asked if Lindsay hasn't been demonstrating any signs of anxiety while she's been on the right meds while at Tewksbury, he said that he didn't know if she exhibited any symptoms of anxiety. He confirmed that Lindsay has been able to communicate, carry out various functions, and bathe herself at Tewksbury. He confirmed that in the fall of 2022, Lindsay would desperately wanted to sleep. Again, when asked about her symptoms, he said that she had a major depressive episode within 4 to 5 months after giving birth to Callan. He would not say that she had postpartum depression. Like, what? He believes that postpartum depression has to take place within the first 4 weeks after birth, and that's due to the DSM-5. But I can tell you from personal experience that they won't even, I won't say take it seriously or whatever, but they tell you basically that it's the baby blues up to 6 weeks after birth. And then after that, if it lingers, that's when they're starting to consider postpartum depression. He said the symptoms of postpartum depression and depression are the same. He confirmed that Lindsay had episodes of panic. She felt overwhelmed. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't enjoy life. She had thoughts of unaliving herself and cried daily. When asked if postpartum psychosis can follow postpartum depression, Mack responded that he couldn't answer the question as asked. He confirmed that hearing a voice or command voices is a serious symptom of psychosis. He said that psychiatrists cannot talk about postpartum psychosis as an illness because it hasn't been approved by the American Psychiatric Association. When asked if he believed that postpartum psychosis is a legitimate disease or defect, he responded that psychosis at any time is a legitimate illness needed and needs treatment. He said that he didn't see any evidence that Lindsay had psychotic features throughout her medical records. He was asked if a person not feeling like themselves is a symptom of postpartum psychosis. He said it can be if the person has psychosis. Then Reddington asked if Lindsay had complained about not feeling like herself, and he said yes. Reddington also pointed out that Lindsay showed 9 out of 10 psychosis symptoms. Dr. Mack said that blood tests can be an important tool to use if necessary, but they're not always done. He also confirmed there was no test done to see how the enzymes in Lindsay's blood were metabolizing her meds. Then we had rebuttal witness number 2, or number 83 overall, which was Dr. Kirk Hilbrun. He is a clinical and forensic psychologist. He is a professor at Drexel University and also does forensic psychological evaluations for judges and attorneys. He's published a lot of stuff on risk assessment and forensic mental health assessment. He said that he would not refer to someone he is evaluating as a patient because evaluators strive for accuracy, whereas therapists strive to help their patients. He has found a defendant not criminally responsible before when he was retained by a prosecutor. Sometimes their conclusion will favor whoever asked them to do it, and sometimes it just doesn't. He reviewed Lindsay's records, interviewed her, and interviewed others like Susan Clancy, Patrick Clancy. They also wanted to interview Lindsay's sister, but she declined to participate. He did his interview in April of 2026. He spent approximately 180 hours on the case. 10 and a half of those were done interviewing Lindsay. He was asked if she was abused or experienced DV growing up. He said those kinds of experiences can put people at a higher risk when they're adults, but Lindsay never reported anything like that. He discussed Lindsay's symptoms throughout the fall of 2022. He said that Lindsay's thoughts of unaliving herself or hurting the kids were her own thoughts, that they were intrusive and unwelcome, but they were not auditory hallucinations. If she actually heard voices coming from outside of her, that would have been a psychotic symptom. He diagnosed Lindsay with bipolar 2 disorder, which he said is less severe or serious than bipolar 1, and bipolar 2 tends to appear when somebody's in their 20s and 30s. He had a hard time finding evidence of manic episodes, but the diagnosis at Tewksbury was bipolar disorder, and they are very careful about what they prescribe and how they prescribe it. He talked to both Lindsay and Patrick about how they disciplined their kids, saying it was never physical and they actually felt really bad when they had to even yell at the kids. When asked about the psychosis, he said that she heard a voice that she never heard before. She hasn't heard it since, but she only experienced it for the 18 minutes or so that it took to unalive the kids. He said, to put it mildly, that would be a very, very unusual pattern or manifestation of how this kind of thing comes about. Very unusual. It provides a convenient way of lessening your own culpability. In 88% of cases, command hallucinations are accompanied by related delusions, which was not present here. People who hear voices tend to try and reduce the influence of the voice, and Lindsay didn't do this. That would be something like listen to music, meditate, pray over it to try and not hear it. He says that he would have expected Lindsay to say, I did what I had to do, or I did what the voice said, instead of I tried to unalive myself when Patrick asked her what she did when he found her on the ground in the back of the house. He opined that it was a self-unaliving attempt, not a psychosis episode. Further, he pointed out to the fact that she never liked to leave her kids with anyone else, and that's exactly where the anxiety for her stemmed from, so she wouldn't want to be without them in this picture either. Part of her expectation was that she and the kids would go to the heaven together, and she was raised Catholic. Then he started talking about the Catholic stuff and mortal sin. Reddington objected, and Judge had the jury leave the room. Judge was big mad. Reddington moved for a mistrial due to the comments about the religion, and this is now happening for the second time. He called the prosecution out, saying that it was intentional misconduct on their part. The prosecutors argued back that it was not intentional on their part and that they didn't try to elicit that response for them. So it wasn't intentional, and the judge is visibly pissed. He is pissed, and he's like, how is any of this proper? The Catholic comments, the mortal sin, heaven, etc. He said the witness's understanding of Catholic teachings is irrelevant. He told the prosecutors that they need to talk to their witness and let him know that he is not allowed or to talk about any of that. And he said because it is not important, it's not relevant. And then he denied the motion for mistrial. He called the jury back in and told them that religion is absolutely in an inappropriate area of testimony. It is to be stricken, it cannot be considered, and the witness's understanding of Catholic teaching is immaterial, it's irrelevant, and it is to be disregarded. And then he let them go for the day. Judge was big mad. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if the prosecution is trying to throw this case so that way they can get a second bite of the apple and maybe take their case a little bit of a different path than they did this time. Because truthfully, I think that they know they might be in a little bit of hot water or deep water here, or a little bit over their heads. But that is it for day 19. Thank you for being here and thank you for following along. And here's the question of the day. Do you think that the prosecutors at this point are trying to throw this and trying to get a mistrial so that way they can start over? Or do you think that they're just like not really trying to do that? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.